is a Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update.
The Bandits back in action tomorrow for Game 3 of the NLL Finals against the Saskatchewan Rush. Pre-game starts at 4 o'clock and face-off is set for 4:30, with all the action right here on WGR SportsRadio550. The Americans must win on the road to stay alive in the Calder Cup playoffs, as the Laval Rocket currently lead the series 2-1 heading into Game 4. Puck drop is set for 7 p.m. at Place Bell Arena. One game tonight in the NHL playoffs, Game 2 for the Oilers and Stars, as Dallas currently leads 1-0, and in the NBA Finals, one game tonight between the Pacers and Knicks, with Indiana leading the series 1-0. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Joe Cali for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Hello, happy Friday. I am wearing shorts because I felt like I should. This is top holiday, Memorial Day weekend, and one of the many reasons why I love it, not number one, but up there, is it always seems to be perfect out.
How great the weather is, yeah. So you're...
But it's not, we're not trading up here to today. Like, it's Monday that matters.
You may be a little defensive about it, though. That's
I don't feel defensive. I feel it's a loyalty thing. You know? Look at you in a coat and outerwear and really boots.
Yeah, because it's like 48 and raining.
I mean, I can't do that. I felt like I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I thought about it. Because a reasonable person would not be wearing shorts today.
No.
I thought about it.
I think that's correct. Yeah.
But I decided I'll be outside for 90 seconds, maybe. And it'll be hot in here. Right now, it is hot in here. Right now, you wish you were wearing shorts
I
right
do.
now.
There's a couple of reasons I wish I were wearing shorts. I dug into the closet and pulled out a pair of pants that felt good when I put them on, and now that I'm sitting here, it's a little snug.
Okay. Can we get a shot?
Little snug. I don't think you could really tell. I mean, they're not like skinny jeans or anything. They're just jeans I haven't worn in a while.
I just think the listeners would, in this case, viewers would appreciate a peek.
I can try to lift a leg up here. I mean, I don't know.
You're actually doing it.
There's not a lot. There's just not a lot of give there. So I wish I had shorts on. I think I'd be more comfortable right now.
You always will be in this room. I am sweating. It's 3:03 and I'm sweating, so not a great sign. So we will talk to Sam Panayovich today, and not everything, of course, I want to say, with the Bills, with the NFL, goes through a betting lens. But for many years, and I'm not really someone who bets a lot, but for many years, I feel like the betting markets are at least an interesting window into people's perceptions of your teams. And, at most, like a really telling, maybe actionable thing. Like if I thought, obviously one team, it doesn't have to be the Bills, one team like is way mispriced, then that's where I'll put money on it. And so going back a decade, we had Bills teams that there were different reasons to get excited about. LaShawn McCoy, for example, but the betting markets were never impressed and never put the Bills much above 500, if even that, like in the Marone and Rex Ryan years. And what happened, right? So they don't have to be right, but pretty much, would you say, for about the last decade, if not longer, the markets have been accurate when it comes to them? Now, you didn't have to love everything about them 3 years ago. You might have had questions about this or that. I don't know. It's a while ago now. I wouldn't remember necessarily what they would be, but the markets loved them, and they had a great season.
Yeah, I would have to take your word for it prior to like the 21 season, I think, because I'm sure it came up, but even then, without it being like legal, widespread app on your phone, the subject matter was not as frequent for us. So I don't really remember what the betting markets thought, because, for years, we'd get that same email from whatever, that offshore thing, and
Jimmy Shapiro.
I would just delete them, and you sometimes would bring it up, and I became fond of purposefully deleting them, so I didn't know the answers to the questions you might ask about what the betting markets were saying. But none of that was like something I ever really spent time looking at or thinking about, other than, in here for a few minutes.
I would think McDermott's first 3 years, this could easily be, not easy. I don't find it easy to find this information. You could find it, though, like what the over-under was, the win total was at kickoff of week 1. And, then how did they do? And I think those 3 years where McDermott arrived, 17, 18, 19, might have been years where there would have been a gap between the Bills' win total and how they did. Like 17 was a pretty big fluke. So I doubt they won 9 games, right? When they made the playoffs the first time. They're 9-7. The old days. As the show ever sounded older, 16-game seasons, 9-7, and that was unexpected, and it was probably like they were really lucky. The next year, maybe that was closer. Maybe the market didn't overreact to the 9 wins, and I think the next year they won 6.
Right. I wouldn't have expected them to have a big number going into 18, even though they did make the playoffs. And you're right, they were 9-7 in 17 when they made it as a wild card team.
And then 19, they might have been underrated.
Yeah,
by the markets.
That might be right, because Allen really, it was not. We were far from sure he was. We were all set, and he was a made guy or anything going into the 19 season. It was really that season, that Dallas game on Thanksgiving, and there was a lot of flag planting there, and at least that's how I remember it. And going into 20, even still, there was, what do we have here, right? Like, is there going to be another step? We won. They won pretty well. They're a pretty good looking team with Allen in the state he was in 19, but it was not elite. It was not Super Bowl contender. It really took the 20 season for them to arrive there.
I think last year is interesting for this, because last year, relative thing, because they've been so excellent, but last year there were doubts. There were certain doubts, Diggs, what that would mean, Hyde and Poyer, like important losses, Trey White, important players left, and would they suffer for it? So I'd want to say, whether it's the betting markets per se or not, that last year's conversations would have been a little bit more skeptical about them. Like, what are we getting? Is it a step back, right? Didn't we hear that a lot last year?
Yeah. Yeah, I still liked him in the division, but I thought it would be tighter than it was, because I thought Miami would be more reliable, and I think also coupled with an expectation that the Bills would. I didn't expect them to win 13 games last year. After all those guys, Mitch Morse too, if you want to throw him in there, right. All those departures, those were important. Those were team captain. There was a leadership void to be expected, and maybe to some extent, although I always kind of suspected maybe they got out at the right time with the safeties, especially Poyer, maybe even a year late with Poyer, but still. There was a drain. And so I thought they could win the division, but I thought it might be, more like the year before where they won 11 games.
Well, all I'm driving at is that this is a pretty reliable measure of, it isn't exactly a measure of, or almost exactly a measure of how the public sees you. And then it tends to be pretty good at, properly measuring the quality of the team, right? I mean, that's it's a pretty safe. It's maybe the safest way to do it. I think it is. I think it's probably the number one way to get those answers. All right, what do the odds say? The odds are unbiased. What do the odds say? And the point I'm finally going to make here is this: this year, for whatever amount of skepticism or consternation with wide receiver, the different James Cook even, like whether he plays, I guess, whatever doubts there are about them, the markets are as much in love as maybe ever with them. Win total wise, chance to make the playoffs, chance to win it all. Mm-hmm. It really has almost never been better than right now. And, is that surprising? I don't think it's exactly surprising.
No, I think off of last year, that the fact that they did win 13 when expectations were muted somewhat, at least for me, and I do think it's fair to say, across the board. I don't think people thought they were going to fall apart, but there was a lot of the Jets are going to win the division, and the Bills are, it's a fallback year and that sort of stuff. And the fact that not only did they not fall back, they had as good a year as they've had through this 5-year run, won 13 games, made it to the AFC title game without Diggs, without all those people that left. And now we're a year further down the road, and until the Bills burn bettors, until they do fall short of expectations, I think it's right to continue to portray them as the level of contender they are being portrayed as. That they came through, and it's really Allen came through like he did with everybody eats and no Diggs and everything, that I think it's right to look at them and think, not that they're exactly bulletproof, because no one is. But until further notice, whoever's catching the ball out there, this is a 12-win, 13-win team. I think that's the way you'll do it. And, unless you see a year where it just comes undone, there's no significant big injury or something, and they're struggling to make a wild card or something, then maybe next year you'll see an adjustment in that, I would think. But not now.
Is it, you almost already said all this, but is it challenging at all to trust it? Does it feel easy to trust? Is it much about the rest of the AFC East, or really not?
The rest of the AFC East is definitely a part of it.
I feel, who are we talking to?
I think.
Was it Warren this week? I said to somebody this week, does it feel like a trap at all? Is there some sort of, catch here when it comes to, I think it was Warren Sharp, their odds are so short and we're so used to it now, right? They've won 5 years in a row. That's pretty good. That's almost historically good. How many teams have done that? Some, but 5 years in a row on top is great, and most people expect it to continue. And my problem with it isn't anything specific to the Bills, really. Their offseason makes sense. I feel like it was always kind of obvious what they needed, and that's what they went and got, and they did a lot of that. So I think it was, pretty, smart.
Mm-hmm.
My hesitation on them isn't specific to anything, really. The wide receiver stuff I do think is debatable, just whether they're good enough, but they just had last year, and what can you say? All of that. So it's not a specific thing. It's more just, it feels a little bit too obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what my kind of a weakness in predicting sports is this, though. You might say overthink it. If ever a team seems, whether this is for a season or a game, if it ever seems too obvious, I want to be on the other side, because Sam coming up asked us a month ago, would you take the Bills over 11.5 wins? And I just, without thinking, I'm like, no. Wait, should? And he's like, what? And I wait, should I?
Right.
Is that kind of, it just seems so obvious that they'll have about the same year. And that's what makes me a little bit uncomfortable, for whatever that's worth. Maybe it's just always going to be that way.
Yeah. Well, I do think it's not, it's not peculiar at all to me to expect some turbulence that you don't see coming. And often in the NFL, in all pro sports, that comes in the form of injury, maybe more than anything else. And there's no way to do anything with that, and I know that's not what you're referring to here. Any betting conversation about win totals and Super Bowl odds and everything assumes health. You just can't. There's nothing you can do with it. Maybe if you had someone who was crazy injury prone, you could try to fold that in, but that's not the case here. So just you leave that over there. That could always happen. That would be to me the only thing that would stop me. Is something I can't foresee sitting here right now happening to them. But that said, I do feel like, I don't know what I said when Sam asked us that. I think I like them to be a very good team, very good to great team. But I also always say 12 wins is a great year in the NFL. So I don't know, sitting here like mid-May to assume a great year might be a lot. So I don't usually venture into win totals myself. But I feel pretty comfortable trusting them. I think what they accomplished last year, based on what we've already talked about here, just in the last 10 minutes, makes me want to trust it. Again, barring something unforeseen, I feel like this is a team that I can trust. I should trust as much as you can trust anything in sports, where there's so many other, factors. How good is your opponent? What kind of form are they in? Are the Patriots going to be way better than we thought going into this year? Because if they are, then that could increase their degree of difficulty, and that could cost them a win somewhere along the way here, and that could hurt your chances of winning a bet on 12 wins. But mostly, I'm inclined to trust them. I feel like I referred to last year as a great experiment with the no digs and everybody eats thing. And sure, they did make the move for Cooper, but mostly they earned, I think, a lot of trust coming through last year the way that they did. At least in the regular season. We all know how the playoff game ended.
New England, by the way, seems to also be like a popular dark horse. There's a lot of that. Everybody kind of sounds the same to me right now. That, watch out for New England. Miami's going the wrong way, and the Jets are probably far away. Everybody and the Bills are the Bills. Everybody kind of sounds the same to me. He had Adam Schefter like a week ago talking about the Patriots, and it was kind of tame. And then he went a little farther toward the end of the clip, like that
they're going to really push the Bills or something to that effect.
Right?
Yeah.
And I guess I can't say I'd be shocked if that happens, but that's a huge jump. Like they were one dumb win away from the number one overall pick with the quarterback that they still have.
That's a lot of ground. It's a lot of ground to make up. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a huge jump. So maybe it's just uncomfortable, and this has happened other years too. You fight through it, taking a season for granted, but. It's like the teams in other sports the hockey teams that we're jealous of, where you just know Colorado, even Toronto, is going to be there. And then the Bills, like the Leafs, have to do the thing then in the playoffs, which is what it's all about. And that's even a little unsatisfying because just as an analyst, it's a little unsatisfying because you really just can't draw that up. What that's going to be, these losses to Kansas City, where it's you can't stop them here, you can't get a first down there, you can't make a kick here. Like you can't exactly draw up what this year's version of that is going to be, and there's only so much everybody over there can do to prepare for it. Players, coaches, GMs building the roster. There's only so much you can do. You don't even, you're not going to know the situation at all. I say that knowing that these chief situations have been very similar. End of the game, get a stop, whatever. Like the games have been pretty similar overall, and that's just so far away.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the last 2 years are very, they got the stops they needed both years to be in a position to have the ball with a chance to win, and they couldn't come through either year. So, all game long, they didn't do much stopping, but they did when it, to give you that chance. And I still do think, I say this all the time, so I'm sorry to be so repetitive, but spin it around. You know, if Mahomes has the ball at the 2-minute warning or around there on your end of the field and needs a touchdown to beat you. Now, again, you're talking about a Bills fan viewing this through the prism of the Bills defense, and that's a problem. But you expect the Chiefs. I expect the Chiefs to come through no matter who they're playing. They could be playing the 2000 Ravens, and I would expect them to come through. And so the Bills have been in that spot the last 2 years, and they haven't. And that is some form of it's it's not all of it, but it's a significant part of the receiver conversation. You know, because you can get by with what you had here all through the year, and you score all your points. But now here it is. It's the same as the closer point. Why you got to go get Von Miller. I got to have Von Miller because in the fourth quarter, I need to harass Patrick Mahomes. Well, in the fourth quarter, if I've got the ball and there's 1:40 to go and I'm at your 35-yard line, I need a first down or I need a touchdown. I need to keep the clock moving and I need to get in the end zone. And do I have enough to do that when Spagnuolo is going to draw up just the right thing and Chris Jones is going to ruin our lives? He's going to wreck somebody and affect the play. Do I have an antidote to that? And 2 years in a row, they have not. Whatever the circumstances, they weren't exactly the same, but they've not managed to come through.
Both were also situations where field goal ties it, and they couldn't get that.
Right.
The first year missing the kick, and then last year,
not even getting in range, really.
2:25 left in the AFC Championship. Bills are down 3, 1st and 10 at their 42. Would you take that right now?
Yes. I'd like it to be a little later. You know, ideally, I might like 1:45 instead of 2:25, but still, yes. You know, if I can't have a perfect scenario, that's close enough.
I guess. I don't know. What is all this to really say? As we're winding down the month of May here.
It's just so close. It's so close. I think is what it's to say.
I think the thing that's been shown, and this is to preface it, if it's even necessary, appreciate just kind of what level of criticism this is. Just losing barely to a team that's really been a dynasty the last 2 years, and of course 2 years before that in another incredible result. But I just think what the story of those last two sequences is Chiefs coaches 5 greater than signs Bills coaches. Mm-hmm. That's, if it's even Brady's fault, the quarterback's the guy with the ball, but in the home game, not using optimal strategy on those 2 plays before the field goal miss. And that was, of course, debated, but that's how I see it. Just like this, I don't want a touchdown's great, but I've still got a lot of work to do if I score it.
Right.
So there was that, and Jones had his pressure on that 3rd down play in that game too. Whether that was a play call or just a win at the line of scrimmage, I don't remember right now. And then last year was the play call on 4th down. The Bills put themselves into 4th and 5 because they were not able to do more in those first 3 plays. Just one 5-yard swing pass on 3rd down, and then you had the Chiefs blow up the 4th down play, and
that's your ball game.
That's it.
Yeah.
So does anything? This is pretty cynical, and I'm not saying I'm settling for this, but does anything they have done or can do change that? No matter who my players are in that moment, is it gonna come off? And that's you can't know, and you do not want to go through your entire life, settling for that, thinking that it won't work out.
Right, just assuming that they're going to call the right play, we're going to call the wrong play, or whatever. Some combination of the 2 things is going to net you a desperation heave downfield to a falling tight end.
That's one way to put it.
It's basically what happened last year. Yeah.
One way to put it.
It's exactly what happened last year.
Yep. Sam Panayovich next. We'll talk to Sal today. Also Dave Buchanan, who will be sideline reporter, floor reporter for the Bandits. The final game of the season tomorrow at home against Saskatchewan for the title. Thanks for listening today. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
Never Download it today.
I think where maybe I would have the most concern, there are candid moments, there is phrasing, people can take things certain ways, and we'll probably have to spend some time after every episode that comes out clarifying, digging into, why'd they say that? Why did somebody look this way? It's going to be maybe those conversations that become a little bit aggravating, but at the end of the day, Josh Allen's going to throw the ball like he normally does, and Deion Dawkins is going to block like he normally does, and the Bills, their fate will be unaffected by the presence of Hard Knocks, but we will get a lot of cool behind-the-scenes stuff.
Joe Marino this morning with Jeremy White on WGR. Check out the Odyssey app for anything you might have missed. With us now, the host of Bet Sweats, Odyssey Sports Betting Insider, Sam Panayovich. Insider calls are presented by BetMGM. Check out the latest lines today on the BetMGM app, and be sure to catch Sam and Joe Ostrowski weekdays 9 to noon on the BetMGM network and the Bet 1520. Sam, how are you?
You really went shorts today, huh?
Absolutely. I am a devout fan. I guess this could sound weird. Memorial Day is a solemn holiday, but I've always really looked forward to it and enjoyed it, not just because it's meaningful, but because there are many good traits. Always on a Monday, you can build around it, right? At the beginning of summer, the weather's often great. It's not formal in a way where you're going to Aunt B's for ham at 4:45 and you got to dress up. I guess I'm still scarred from my childhood. Anyway, it's hot dogs and hamburgers and swimming.
It can be pretty loose.
I'm still a kid, all right? So I like Memorial Day for a lot of reasons, and I feel that because I'm always in here this weekend every year, reminding everybody how it's always great.
He had to force the shorts on us.
I went shorts because I'm tied to it all.
This is sort of what the natives used to do with the rain dance, right? You would wear shorts and hope that the sun would soon come out, and it looks like 55 Saturday, 57 Sunday, 66 on Monday. So there's your forecast for Buffalo. I just need to know, Bulldog, I think the people need to know, are these John Stockton shorts or Fab Five shorts, lengthwise?
They're definitely not John Stockton shorts. No.
They're like halfway between golf shorts and dress shorts.
Yeah.
I just stood up for the cameras. I'm so proud.
Yeah.
The second person of the show today to do it.
They're not like, they are not super baggy, but there's no I don't want to say it.
Nobody's confusing me with John Stockton.
No. There's no nut hugging going on here. I said it.
Come on.
It wasn't that bad.
Come on.
It's all right. Anyway, it's all good.
You got enough information now? Yeah. Right. Are you happy?
I feel great. Yeah, I feel primed to talk betting. I queued up the Odyssey app. I was on the way home from the gym. I was listening to you guys, and Schopp comes in and said, "Yep, I wore shorts today." I'm like, "Wow, there's a lead." But I listened all the way home, and you guys are talking about the Bills, and I have the odds screen up right here at every book. They have the highest win total in the NFL when you weigh in the juice. So the Bills, Eagles, Chiefs, Ravens are all 11.5. The Bills, though, are the most expensive to go over. You got to lay $1.40, $1.50, $1.60. So they have the highest win total in the NFL. When you compare it contextually to past Bills teams, it's not really fair because, as we know, we haven't played 17 games forever. But this is one of the highest totals in franchise history. And, some books in Vegas have them favored to win the AFC. So this is where you're at. I understand the naysayers. I understand they don't win the big games. They can't beat Mahomes. I get it all. But coming into this season, bookmakers look forward, not backward. And, they're favored at multiple places right now to go to the Super Bowl. Now, they have to meet those expectations, but that's what they are.
Right. They're just such different things.
Right. The win total, the playoff failure doesn't matter to the win total, really. I don't think, does it?
No, but they're still favored to win the conference.
Right,
so, it's, like a dollar wins me $3.50 at multiple places. And there's a book in Vegas that has a nice Buffalo flavor, if you will. You got a lot of Bills fans that live in the area and travel well. And that book is down to 3-1 to win the AFC. So that book has Bills at 3, Ravens at 3.25, and the Chiefs at 4-1. And that's also weighing in how people are betting it. So the respect is real where the money is, at least.
We've talked about this before, maybe almost weekly here lately, but none of this is really surprising. I think for me, the challenge is when we're talking about them every day forever, you're trying to find, I say you, I'm trying to find areas that are interesting, and maybe like there's a good debate about whether they're good enough, just like what it really is. This team has made, to its credit, this team has made that harder, a lot harder in the last 5 years or so. But there's sort of like an inherent sense or instinct to sort of look. So where are the flaws? And when you're doing that, I just think it's a little, like I said earlier, you may have heard me, it's a little bit uncomfortable, kind of almost assuming 12 wins, like just, yeah, well, whatever it is, it's not really there, or it's not really going to matter. So go ahead and lean into a great season.
It's an interesting conversation. I think the one thing that I hear a lot in my business is, well, games aren't played on calculators. And that's true. But the power ratings dictate the betting number. And I have their schedule up here. I mean, we're not going to go through every game, but they are favored. I've got them -1 against Baltimore, week 1. I've got them -2 against Kansas City in week 9. And those are the only games where there are small numbers at home. Every other game, they're favored every game at home right now. Mm-hmm. And then on the road, they could be a dog maybe at Houston, depending on how Houston looks. I mean, that's November 20th. So if Houston at that point is, 9-2 or something, then maybe it's a different conversation. But as of right now, guys, I have them favored in 16 of 17 games. So, I think that's really a good compass on where they are because, years past, they go on the road to New England, they're a dog. They go on the road to Miami, they're a dog. You don't have any of those games this year where they're definitely a dog on the road.
Right. And that is also a reflection of their big games are all home games. The 4 top teams they play, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Philadelphia, are all home games. So
yeah, I think if those games were all on the road,
they might be underdogs in all of them.
All of them, or at least for sure 3 of the 4. The Bengal game off of last year might be the only one that I might question, but I think the other 3 almost for sure. I'd expect them to be a small dog in all 3 of those.
The Kansas City thing.
They'd be a dog at Baltimore for sure. They'd be a dog at Kansas City. I think it's closer to a pick 'em against Cincy, and then they'd definitely be dogs at Philly. But it is silly sort of to play this game on May 23rd when a lot can happen. They play Philly after Christmas. So who knows? Is Saquon Barkley healthy? Is Jalen Hurts concussed? I mean, a lot of things can change. One of the bigger bets I made last offseason was the Houston Texans under the win total. And I looked at their schedule. I'm like, oh, my God, look at all these quarterbacks they play. They play Jared Goff and Aaron Rodgers and Dak, and, every quarterback was hurt. So the Texans beat up on a very easy schedule because the quarterbacks were hurt. Things happen in the NFL, guys, as you know. But I understand the Bills fans that would say, prove it to me. I wholeheartly understand it. We can talk numbers and we can talk about how great they are, but some fans are always going to want to see it before they believe it.
I was on a fantasy podcast Tuesday night and just ended up...
Get out!
Yep, and it wasn't even mine.
Brag. That's a brag, Bulldog.
It so is. And I just sort of ended up saying, it wasn't really premeditated, but it just came out of me. It was in a fantasy context, but I'm sitting with it since, that I'm all the way out on the Los Angeles Chargers. And so, in fantasy, the price of each guy, I have a little bit of McConkey. He's a second-round pick, though. And I just can kind of see it going badly for the Chargers. They get the benefit of the doubt because of Harbaugh. But, Greg Roman wears out his welcome. Justin Herbert has yet to really sort of, if you will, fully arrive as a great quarterback, just that I can take my team. He hasn't won a playoff game yet. So I decided I was out on the Chargers. I'm still trying to decide if I am, team total-wise. But I do think Denver's good, legitimately good. And I think Vegas is maybe a lot better. So what do you think about, the idea of an alternate line under 6.5 or something on LA?
I wouldn't do it. I understand maybe where you look at their roster from a fantasy standpoint, but I try very hard to not cross-pollinate fantasy and betting. I know guys that bet that always lose in fantasy, and then I got fantasy guys that always win that don't know how to bet. It's very difficult to be good at both. I think that's very obvious for a lot of people.
It is right that they are different.
Coach.
It is right that they are different. It's a different question.
I mean, you being able to figure out which player has individual value doesn't mean you can handicap a football game or a betting market. I'm not good at fantasy. I'm just in bad leagues with people that take quarterbacks in round 2, so I usually have a chance.
You get away with it.
I think Mahomes went in round 2 in a 10-team league, and I was like, this is awesome. Harbaugh's coached 5 NFL teams: 13-3, 11-4, 12-4. The year everything fell apart in San Francisco, 8-8, and then last year 11-6. So 13, 11, 12, 11. With the 8, we have to talk about the 8. That's there too. He just knows how to win. He like his teams are always prepared. They don't make a lot of mistakes. He's been a little more aggressive last couple years at Michigan and last year with the Chargers at going for it. I mean, he used to be, when he was at Michigan, it'd be 4th and 1 at the 50 and he'd punt it. He's been a lot more aggressive. He's sort of morphed with the times. It's just very hard for me to bet against Jim Harbaugh. I know that might be a lazy handicap, but that's how I feel.
I'm curious. I want to talk about this again when we get closer to the season, just like how they do it. I mean, they just really don't have the flash on offense. Again, this year, they didn't really hit that like other teams maybe did, like the Bears. So I wonder if they'll just have enough talent for that. We'll see. Sam Panayovich on the West Her hotline. Let's mention the Rockies, the obligatory Rockies mention. I guess I'm only half meaning this. Are they maybe too terrible for you for this to be enjoyable? I mean, we're maybe kind of like, all right, we get it. You had the Rockies under. There might be a little bit of that setting in. And I don't know. There's no sweat at all here. I joked to you on text the other day, like you should really win like 3x when it's like this. When you're so far under the number, which is where it seems we're headed with the Rockies. I mean, money's money, win's a win, but it's kind of boring, isn't it?
No, I love it. Every day I get to go against the best team, I get to go against the worst team in baseball every day. And they're 8-42. We have under 60.5.
8-42.
Yeah, I think we're going to get there, guys. I mean, it's crazy. So they are on pace.
It's 500 the rest of the way to beat you.
On pace to finish 74 games out of first. And if you think that's wild, they're also on pace to finish 58 games out of fourth place.
Yeah.
Think about that.
8-42 is not even 30 wins.
They are the worst baseball team I have ever priced. I mean, we're at a level. I don't want to get too hyperbolic because that's dumb. But if you took the best AAA team and the Rockies on a neutral,
here we go.
It would be. I mean, the Rockies would be -150. That would be. I mean, the best of the best in AAA and the Rockies. It's not that far off, guys.
If I had my ace at the Iron Pigs or somebody, and I had my ace, I would maybe want to bet them straight up.
Right. What? How did we get here? Like, I know, like, you like the total, you got on it, and, like, good for you. What is known to be like? Is this intentional? Are they just terrible at putting a team together? Like, what is happening there?
I don't think it's a major league Rachel Phelps moved the team to Boca Raton. It doesn't feel like that's possible. I don't think it's tanked to leave Denver. It's just bad scouting, bad development. They've drafted the wrong guys. And, I did laugh. I don't mean to laugh at somebody losing their job, but I did see the other day or last week, they fired the manager. That'll fix it.
Right.
Like it's never the manager's fault on a team this bad. It's just an organizational failure in every way. And like the guys that they've had, like Nolan Arenado, they traded them. All of their really good players that they've had over the last 5 years or so, they've either lost to free agency or traded for prospects, but then the guy picking the prospects can't pick prospects. I don't know that there's a solution. I mean, it's not like the NFL where you could take a star quarterback first overall, or the NBA where you could take Cooper Flagg. Baseball, it takes an army. So they have to have
3 or 4 years of decent drafts and development to even get back to respectability. But I will say there's nobody happier every night than me and Sneaky Joe texting about the Rockies. Hey, they're down 7-0 again.
I'm glad you're able to enjoy it on that kind of, granular level every day because like it's already in the bank. So I'm glad it's fun. Hopefully maybe will it still be fun after they hit the number because then you're going for history or something like that, or just I don't know, when it's over, I guess.
It's going to win, and I will move on with my life. I don't know. I hadn't thought about, is it going to be fun when they finish 90 games under 500? Yeah, it'll probably still be fun.
You'll want them to do what the White Sox did last year, which is have one of the worst teams ever and then win 6 out of 7 to close the season.
I'm a White Sox guy, so if the Rockies want to win 39 games, I'd be very happy. We just move on from the White Sox, just kind of like we moved on from the 2005 World Series that nobody remembers. But I wanted to throw one thing out here. I know we're sort of up against it. I've been parlaying the Fever to win the WNBA title. Mm-hmm. Some books still have 350. You can parlay Bills to win the AFC East, Fever to win the title, things like that. I think we're going to get 6 weeks into the season, and the Fever are going to be plus 150 to win the title. The money hasn't stopped. Now, some books are still 350. Other books are 3-1. I see a 250, and there's a 225 in Vegas. So those 350s, wink, wink, are not going to last. And if you don't like that, if you want to bet plus 350, how about Bills to win the AFC, Fever to win the title? I would be hooking Indiana Fever title with anything you want because by the time we get to the playoffs, they are mathematically going to be the team to beat, and that plus 350 is not going to be there.
If that makes sense, you guys have done these before, these multi-sport futures bets. Bulldog is on one similar to one of yours, I think, with the Thunder and Dallas Stars and this. And I feel like this is a really smart way to bet the Bills one, for example. Because you don't want to just bet it solo. It's right. The price isn't great, but if you put it with a couple of these other ones and you get it, then you have something.
So it's really about circumventing the juice. If you don't want to take that Bills bet at minus 250, I understand. So what do? You wheel it with the Fever to win the title, and all of a sudden you have a much more realistic bet. I'm just doing some quick clicking here for you guys. Bills to win the AFC, Fever to win the title is 18-1.
Wow.
You're going to be in a good spot to win both of those. And then if I can pull up division real quick, I'm trying to get the Bills to win the division and the Fever to win the title. ... I hate when these apps never load on time. Division winner, Bills and the Fever to win the title is plus 500. So win the East, Buffalo. Fever win the title, 5-1. Not a bad bet.
Yeah.
You're on the Knicks tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing the Frank Sinatra parlay, Knicks and Yankees.
Did you do anything with hockey last night? Mike said something during our first segment, which you may have heard him say, when it all sounds the same, right? And when that happens, right, Dolphins are going the wrong way, Patriots are improving, but still not ready, Jets are starting over, so Bills. And I had a thought, I didn't do anything with it, thankfully, because I was dead wrong, as it turns out. But everybody's so hot about Florida after they win Game 1 of that series against Carolina. And I thought, well, Carolina had a little time off, rust. Florida is energized by Game 7, adrenaline. They roll in 2 days later and take Game 1. I thought last night's game would swing closer to a tight game. And it was worse than Game 1. Florida just blew them out, but I liked that as a premise, I'm smart. Look at me. Again, thankfully I did drop $20 on it in any way, shape, or form. But I had that thought. What do you think moving forward here? Is Carolina worth paying any attention to, or is that over? It seems over.
I don't want to say it's over, but I wouldn't bet them. I saw their number 10-1, 12-1 to win the Cup. I don't want it. No thanks. I can move on. I thought Brindamore was going to start bench pressing after the first period, get out there on the skates. He was so mad, and I would be too. They are the definition of regular season great and playoff soft. How about 14 straight losses in the Eastern Conference Final?
Right. Do you pay close enough attention to the whole picture to realize that means they have the Sabres have won a conference finals game more recently than the Hurricanes, whose last conference finals win was against the Sabres in 06, Game 7.
There's a stat right there. I'm sure some Sabres fan is like, yeah, told you, baby.
Right. Right. We talked about that yesterday or the day before. Like, do I even want that to continue? I think I do. I like it a little bit, but it does bring back 06, which I don't need.
Right.
So that was a painful loss.
The Thunder last night, Sam. I don't know where you were on that, but I was watching that, and into the third quarter, it was like alternating between like a 4-point Thunder lead and like a 9-point Thunder lead. And I'm not kidding. It happened so fast. Maybe you were watching it when it happened. I turned the TV off downstairs to go upstairs. I got upstairs, and it was a 16-point game. I was like, what the hell? I know, like, it's basketball. It happens. It can happen fast, but wow.
They have what my friend Clark Kellogg calls spurtability. You go to the bathroom, and you come back, and it's like, 12-0 run. Like I literally was in the bathroom for 2 minutes. How did that happen? They are so good defensively. It doesn't get talked about enough what they've done to Minnesota. I mean, they have shell-shocked Minnesota, and they're probably going to win Game 3 too. They're winning the title. I would be surprised if they didn't. They are so much better than Minnesota, and they're much, much better than the Knicks and the Pacers too. I saw your parlay, Bulldog, your $10 parlay to win a lot. I think you have the NBA champ, and I think you have the Stanley Cup champ. You're going to need to get the Mets and the Bills. No problem. No sweat there, buddy.
Right. No, that won't be uneasy at all from summer until October, almost November when we get the Mets. And then if that comes together, can you imagine what the football season is going to be like for me over here?
If that parlay hits, you need to retire from gambling. You know that, right?
Yes.
What are the odds? What is the...
It's $10 to win $37,000.
$37,000. These are good teams.
Yeah.
Man. Like a lot of people, I'm sure. It was. Right now, I got to bet more.
Well before the playoffs in the NBA and NHL. Like, it was maybe mid-season. I could look at the date for sure to tell you. Maybe Sam could tell you if he's looking at the screenshot.
February 11th at 9:08 a.m. Eastern. What did you have for breakfast that morning?
Black coffee.
Berry twisted puffs.
No, I eat cereal at night. I don't eat cereal in the morning.
Twisted berry puffs.
Twisted berry puffs.
Sam, how do you tend to spend Memorial Day weekend?
I will be at my buddy's, probably on the grill. They always ask me to grill when I go away. I'd love to have people at the house, but we're going to do that in a couple of weeks here. So I'll probably be doing the burgers and dogs, but that's easy. I can do that in my sleep.
Thanks for your time today, as always.
Thanks for giving me 20 minutes on Memorial Day weekend, boys.
Sorry. I'll give you a heads up next time. All right, Sam Panayovich on the West Her hotline. I would usually do that, but with him, he's so easygoing about these. He's always like, whatever you want. He goes on vacation. He's at the pool last week or the week before. It's like, whatever you want. And so I just decided not to bother.
And now I feel bad.
And now it's like, geez, guys. I mean, get me out of here. A little bit right there. Sam Panayovich, Odyssey Sports Bet Sweats Insider. Insider calls presented by BetMGM. For all your betting needs, check out the newly rebranded BetMGM network on the Odyssey app. Sal coming up next. We're watching Orioles Red Sox in here. Alex Bregman went out of this game. I don't know if you were watching it, but he hit a ball off the wall and left and kind of pulled up, rounding first.
Oh, I did not see that. I must not have been looking up then. I saw a big Devers 3-run home run.
He immediately took himself out after getting back to first base after that hit. So they put the camera on Devers the whole rest of the inning,
right?
Because is he going to play third now?
Right. Does he still have a glove?
Does he still even have a glove?
He used to play third. Is he going to be mad now if they ask him to play third because someone else got hurt?
That was, I think, literally his quote. They asked for my glove, so they get to keep it, or something like that. He said when they were talking about him maybe moving to first, and of course the reporters all went, you need a different glove for first. There's a special glove.
You should. I think you could use the other glove.
You're allowed to.
But you would want the fancy.
I've never seen it.
No, me either.
Even in Little League, the first basemen have the big, older Little League. Travel. Not house, maybe not. Travel, The first baseman's got a first baseman's mitt.
I never
guarantee it.
We never had travel baseball. My kids weren't good enough.
Sal knows all about travel baseball. He will join us after the update. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Playoff action in both the NHL and NBA tonight. Stars host the Oilers. They're looking to take a 2-0 series lead. Game time is at 8 over on ESPN. We also have Calder Cup action tonight. Rochester on the road versus Laval at 7. Rochester must win tonight to keep their season alive. Then in basketball, the Knicks host Indiana. They will attempt to rebound from Wednesday's overtime loss. Game time also at 8. They'll be over on TNT and Max. And then also tonight, the Bisons. They are on the road versus the Iron Pigs. First pitch at 7. They can be heard on our sister station, The Bet 1520. Looking ahead to the weekend, a very busy sports weekend. The Bandits looking for their third straight NLL title tomorrow at 4:30. They will host the Saskatchewan Rush. Pregame is at 4. And that'll be right here on WGR. Bandit sideline reporter Dave Buchanan will have more on this pivotal Game 3 when he joins the show later today. And on Sunday, it is race day, 9 a.m. The Monaco Grand Prix in Formula 1, 12:45, the Indianapolis 500. And then the day will wrap up at 6 with the Coca-Cola 600 in NASCAR. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
All right, rolling along here on a Memorial Day Friday. Sal Capaccio standing by on the West Her hotline for us to keep us rolling along here. Sal, big Memorial Day weekend plans, or are you getting rained out of stuff?
A bit scuttled tonight. We were supposed to have a baseball tournament starting up tonight. That's been shelved, but games tomorrow morning are still on. They're going to work on the fields. That's why they kind of canceled everything tonight and said we're going to work on the fields. Hopefully that gets going tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow afternoon I'll be kind of dialed in. I'm not like a really big, huge Syracuse lacrosse. Sorry about that, guys. But a Syracuse lacrosse watcher. But they're in the Final Four, so that'd be great. I actually watched their game against Princeton in the Final 8, so I'll watch that when I can. Yeah, it was great. It was a great game. They were up 16-11 in the fourth quarter. They blew it and won 19-18. So that's at 2:30. The other Final Four game is Penn State against Cornell. And then, did I say Cortland? I've done that 3 times now. Every time I go to say Cortland, I say Cornell. Or Cortland.
They're close.
Who's
in it? Cornell. There you go.
Cornell.
I keep doing that. Anyway, and then the Bandits tomorrow night, obviously. Tomorrow evening is right after that. So, yes, there's a lot going on this weekend, I guess.
Tomorrow, the Bandits are 4:30 tomorrow.
Right. 4:30. It's crazy.
Yeah. Cornell is the number 1 seed. The quarters were all really good. Syracuse had a nice kind of resurgence this year. When we were growing up, they were dominant. Roy Simmons, is that his name? And then the Gate brothers.
Mike, you'll remember Gary Gate was one of the greatest players ever. He's now their head coach.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, for years, Memorial Day Monday, that final has been like around lunchtime on Memorial Day. Going back years before Mike's kid was playing lacrosse, or I even knew who you were, Sal. But that would be like a Monday. Oh, what's on? Okay, yeah, I'm watching lacrosse.
It's always that day.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Sal mentioned the Bandits. That's the end of the indoor season tomorrow, and the PLL season starts next week. So there's no
not a lot of time off there.
No break. Let's go.
Yeah. And we got that game on WGR tomorrow. I had John Gertler on earlier today. It's just cool, to have they're going for a three-peat. And we were there last year. I won't be able to go to the game. My family was there last year for that championship. It was just cool to watch a Buffalo team win a championship with a packed house at home like that. Was super cool. And maybe tomorrow evening, we have another chance for that here at KeyBank Center.
Yeah, they can tie. I read this earlier today. There's 2 other franchises that have won 7 titles, and this would be their 7th. Maybe it's Rochester and Toronto. I've got in my head are the other 2. But anyway, yeah, really great. And I didn't realize here, it's a 3rd straight title chance they've got here. They lost in the final the previous 2 years. So it's 5 years in a row that they've been in the final, which is, really quite a run.
Yep.
It really is. I would say, too, we've gone to games, and, I don't think it's an understatement to say the Bandits might have one of the best home field / court advantages in all of sports with how rocking that place gets. It's pretty unbelievable, actually.
No doubt. Speaking of a great run, I didn't realize this until we talked to Warren Sharp the other day, and he mentioned it, Sal. Maybe you know this. The Bills have the longest streak in the NFL of wins after a bye week. I think of Andy Reid for that, first of all, as I told Warren the other day. Like, I was about to blurt out. He sort of asked us the question, who has the longest active win streak after bye weeks? Is it Kansas City? But it's the Bills at 10. The last loss they have after a bye is what I call the 7-1-6 game, because we all went to that opening party after the game to 7-1-6. I remember thinking I really wanted the Bills to win, especially that day, because they would all be at the party. Yeah. And, if they lost, it might be awkward or whatever. But that game against Kansas City in 2014, I guess, or 15, is the last loss after a bye week. Any does that surprise you? Did you know it? Is there any particular thing about them where they've sort of what it is they do that's especially effective after buys?
So Sean McDermott, it doesn't surprise me. I've known he is very good after a bye. I know the record is good. I'm going back and looking now. His first year in Buffalo was the bye was right after they lost at Cincy. They come home after the bye. They beat Tampa here on the Tre'Davious White punch-out. Remember that one? Late in the game, punches out the ball. That's 2017. They win that game. Mm-hmm. The next year,
we refer to that as the O.J. Howard game, Sal.
That's the O.J. Howard game. That's when Mike Evans in the end zone completely ran over our friend Jenna Cottrell in the end zone. She's holding the camera. Oh my God, she got destroyed, and she was a champ. She got up and just kept on ticking. It was amazing. She's got a great shot of it. Jacksonville the next year. That's the Robert Foster game, actually. 2019 is the Micah Hyde returns the kickoff onside kick for a touchdown game. And if you remember in that game, they were down, and they came back late in that game. 2020, I'm looking. That's L.A. at home against the Chargers. That was us. I think they gave up a Hail Mary in that game, if you remember that, for the Chargers. Late in the season. I'm just going through real quick. 2021, Miami again. They destroyed them. Looks like there. 2022 is Green Bay, Sunday Night Football. A little bit of a struggle. That was bad second half, right?
Right.
And things start to kind of not go well for them. 2023, they go to Kansas City after a bye. That's the Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys stretch right there. They go to Kansas City. They win that game 20-17. Really nice game. Then last year, they have San Francisco on Sunday night. What I would say is this. I think the majority of what I just saw going through it over the last few years, their buys have come later. And the Bills have been a good team late. They've been a good team in December and
That's right.
late November. After Thanksgiving, they've been very good.
Yep.
And so it coincides with that. That's number one that strikes me. Number two is I just think that they have the kind of coaching staff that would be good in those situations. You give them a couple extra days to prepare for an opponent, to kind of really get dialed in on what you want to take away. Sean McDermott's strength as a defensive coach, I think you look at it. If you go back and look at those scores, not all of them, but several of them where you're keeping that team down a little bit, and I think that doesn't surprise me.
If we're willing to or eager to attach player names to some of these games, even if they're not on the winning team, like O.J. Howard, 23 has to be the Kadarius Toney game for lining up offside.
Right.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
On that lateral.
The streak might not exist if it weren't for that.
That's right.
Right.
But that was, you look at that game, guys. They go to the Jets a couple weeks before that was the first game for Joe Brady, right? As offensive coordinator. It's middle of the season, November, they fire Ken Dorsey. Then it's the Eagles game in overtime where they don't try to score late in the game, they lose in overtime. Then you got the bye, and then they run off 5 straight wins after the bye, which is what I'm talking about. And it's Chiefs, Cowboys, Chargers, Patriots, Dolphins. And that's when you're like, oh, they're back in their groove. They've just been really good. Go back and look at the Bills late in the season, in the regular season. I mean, it's just really an amazing record when you think about it, especially since they started making the playoffs. They're pretty amazing. They're pretty really unbeatable almost when it comes to record-wise. In these games, there's very few losses.
They also have that thing where, like last year, they lost 2 in a row. Baltimore and Houston, and in other years, whenever they lost 2 in a row, they just won them all after that. It was just like almost the end. The end of their losing was a back-to-back, losing streak. Well, this year the bye is in week 7. I know we've talked about this before, and you brought up how they've had several byes, later on in the season. This year it's week 7, and then week 8, their game after the bye is at Carolina. Then it's the Chiefs here. for you, you said, if I remember correctly the other day, Week 7 is not your perfect time of year for a bye.
Right, I don't think it is, but I don't think it's a super bad one either, especially in this situation this year. But I think generally teams want to have it a little bit more towards the end or middle. Now, that said, the middle of the season is different for Schopp and Bulldog and Sal talking on the radio than it is for an NFL football player. We look at it from September 7th, on, really. That's 6 weeks, and then you have a bye. But let's remember, these guys go to training camp at the end of July. When you put that bye week on October 20th, it's actually pretty much in the middle of their entire season when you think of training camp. And I think a lot of players would say, yeah, that falls in a perfect spot. I think from a coaching standpoint, you want to be a little bit healthier rolling into the end of the year. Maybe you want to get your bye a little bit later. I would think that. I bet you players like it to have right around where it is. Maybe a little later is fine. But I think middle of the season, I've always heard players talk about, if you're going to get middle of the season, that's good. Get your body refreshed. Well, middle of the season, you got 3 preseason games before you play. So now it's actually week 10 when you think about it, out of 18. And then you have the training camp weeks, like I said, before that. So it really is, week 13 overall of their season. So it is there. But I think in this situation, it does actually kind of help the Bills in a way, which is those 2 guys who are suspended, they can start practicing after week 4. They can't play week 5 against the Patriots. They can't play week 6 against the Falcons. And then they have a bye week. They're going to actually get 3 weeks of practice in without even counting on the roster before they play in that game against Carolina.
Yeah, that works out pretty nice. I mean, I also like, and the Bills have had success, like you're saying. I just buzzed through it, and I'll compile it all. But December is insane how they've done with these late buys, maybe playing some part in it. But the fact that they've got these suspensions and can get that work done starting, like you said, that timeline and the week off in there to sort of help those guys maybe get integrated is, I think, I might have been torn. If I could pick the bye anywhere I wanted, if someone had laid out to me the way you just did with the timing of those suspensions and they're coming back, I might have landed on that as much as I like it in week 11 or 12.
And Bulldog, when you throw in there, they're playing at Carolina. Let's be honest, just not the biggest team on the schedule as far as most imposing. Now they could go there and lose, of course. Anything can happen. Carolina almost beat Kansas City last year. But if you're going to pick an opponent and you want to get those guys coming off a bye, get them back integrated a week before a Kansas City game, right? Get a tune-up there, get them involved in your defense. I think it just kind of sets up. And then they come home to Kansas City, and Kansas City will be coming off a short week, by the way. So Kansas City plays home Monday Night Football against the Washington Commanders the week before they come to Buffalo on Sunday.
That is true. Warren also said not to spend the entire day on the bye weeks, but I guess we started it. He also said that the advantage isn't as much as it used to be because players have more freedom to leave, for whatever it is, 4 or 5 days in the middle of the 2 weeks, as opposed to before that when they would sort of be around the facility all the time. I thought that was interesting.
I agree with that. I don't know the data on it. I'm sure he has it, but it is true that the CBA has changed. Years ago, I don't even know if there were necessarily rules. It might have been up to each individual team how they wanted to treat it. But now you must give the players, I think, 4 days off. I think it's 4 consecutive days during that week. I could be wrong on that. It might be 5, but there's something in there with that. Which, so you're going to come in. So let's just play this out for the Bills. So when the Bills play the Carolina Panthers on that Sunday, that would be October 26th, come back to Buffalo Sunday evening. They'll come in on Monday. They'll get injury check. They'll go through some film, stuff like that. And I'm going to guess probably Tuesday is going to be a little bit more of a come on in, get your weightlifting in and things like that. And then Wednesday, they probably won't have much at all, if anything. Maybe you have a meeting, maybe you stick around, but that's it. And in years past, that wouldn't be the case. You might be in the facility and even be required to be by your team, but that can't happen anymore. Now, you don't really have to give them off your team, I think, until like Thursday. But generally now the way it works out, by Wednesday, pretty much, okay, go and do what you got to do.
Do you guys like where the Chiefs game is on the schedule? I mean, I don't know if you'd have a strong opinion either way. It wasn't, I say this like I know, and Philadelphia is this. I never thought it would be super late, like a Christmas game or anything like that, because I think, like I've said, you can waste a great matchup, and the Bills-Eagles game might end up being wasted in that way, if depending on the team's standings at that point. Week 9.
I definitely wouldn't want it as late as the Philly game is. But for me, the Bengal game and the Chief game are relatively interchangeable. My favorite thing, and I've said it a few times, is how spaced out those 4 home games are. The Baltimore opener, the Chief game, the Bengal game, and then there's still even a 3-week buffer before you get Philadelphia, and we'll see how hot and heated that game ends up being. So yeah, I'm all right with the Chief game where it is. If it was where the Bengal game is instead, if those 2 games were flipped, I might like it a little better, but they're pretty interchangeable to me. I just like that there's a gap because a few years there, so you just ran it down talking about December a few minutes ago, there were some back-to-back pretty tough-looking games at least ahead of time. Even last year, San Francisco, should have been a tougher game, or you might have thought sitting here in May it would be a tougher game, and it really wasn't as tough a game as we thought. But I like the spacing more than so much where each game is specifically.
Yeah, agreed. Do I like it? Yeah, I don't mind it at all. I think it's about maybe give me that week, maybe a week or 2 later would be as late as I'd go. I didn't want it past Thanksgiving, that's for sure. Maybe earlier in the season. It always seemed like, a good early season Bills-Chiefs matchup is good. But I look at the schedule, and when I just kind of take it in totality, Mike, without saying just specifically where's that game, if I look at the schedule and see where it is, I like it because I think that you got this really tough opener, and then you got games where you're going to get going. You're going to get going, and then you have your bye week, and okay, then you meet Kansas City, right? So if you would have had Baltimore and then Kansas City within the next few weeks, you're like, okay, you got some tests here. You better get off to a start and see what happens. I think they have a chance here for a really nice start before we get to that game.
Memorial Day weekend, kind of a culmination of a certain part of the offseason. We have the schedule. We had the draft. The Bills will be on the field a little bit here before we get a break and then training camp. What do you think, Sal, we'll be talking about the most here between now and camp, or even between now and the regular season? The team is so well established as elite. And, what the betting markets say, everything that sort of points to, again, this year, an excellent season. Is it going to be James Cook? If James Cook walks in the door next week, what are we talking about the most for the next 3 months?
That's the question. If James Cook is at mandatory minicamp, then, you kind of squash any real talk of it, right? There's going to be some talk of it, no doubt. If he's not at mandatory minicamp, that's the number one story. I don't think there's any doubt whatsoever. This is it. What is going to happen with James Cook going into training camp? Is he going to show up? How's that all going to be treated? I think we're going to be talking about Hard Knocks a lot, to be honest with you. This is new to us. We've never seen something like this. What's it going to be like? Who are the storylines? How are they going to present this? What are the Bills' feelings on it? All that kind of stuff. And, yeah, I think that's going to be it. And then I think there's the Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid stuff from lingering from the offseason, the end of the year press conference. Those are going to be a couple of focal points. How do they look? Are they looking like they're bigger and stronger and ready to go? And they're both a little different cases, obviously, from what the coach and GM said about them. But I do think they're 2 players that people are going to be talking a lot about. Now, look, I think as the season unfolds, it's the defense a little bit more. You have an MVP quarterback. You have a team that scored 30-something points a game, and you have these individual storylines you're watching. But during the season, it's, okay, you revamped the defense. You made these changes on defense. Defense was kind of what held you back. The GM basically said it. That's where we thought we needed help. So I think during the season is going to be a little bit of a different shift with that storyline.
Sal, I've been reluctant to bring it up to you because I wasn't sure when, there was an embargo lifted on talking about it, but I know you were on at least the WBEN morning show today talking about your experience on set with the Hallmark movie. What can you tell us about the experience? And I don't know if you knew this. We were rivals for a bit there. I applied, and I got a text. Sal got the part. I'm like, well, good for Sal.
Well, no, maybe not. I did not get that part.
Oh.
So that I didn't beat you out. Another person at Odyssey also said the same thing to me. You applied for the announcer role, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what happened. Somebody I had worked with years ago had said, hey, I think, you should apply for this role. This is what it is. And I looked at it, I'm like, oh, yeah, that looks really interesting. Okay, let me see. So I put in my reel, just like you probably did and whatever, and applied for the PA announcer role for the movie.
Right.
I got an email. It said, hey, we're going to hire you. I'm like, oh, this is great. Never knew until a few more emails where I'm trying to match things up and things weren't making sense. I'm reading the script and I'm also reading when I have to go. And I'm like, I'm not in these scenes. What's going on? So I shoot off a text to somebody. And they're like, oh, no, wait. and I'm gonna say this now. I hope I don't get in trouble for saying it. Apparently, they wanted Luke Russert in the movie, and he got the announcer role.
Okay, all right.
So they moved me to a different role. They said, no, we liked you and wanted you in something else, so you're playing a different role. So I actually play a character that works in the front office for the team.
All right, well, good for you.
And I had to go on set and shoot my scenes yesterday, 2 days ago, sorry. And it was an awesome experience. And we shot the scenes in the offices right above the tunnel there where those offices are, where the names are for the Wall of Fame.
Yep.
That's where this was. And in my 2 scenes, number 1 was I am basically at a conference table, and the lead character, Matt Daddario, who plays a guy named Gabe, he's the head of the stadium development. His character is basically based on John Polka, I think, is what it is. That's his role. And he's in a meeting with us, and he's thanking us. What a great job we did on the stadium and all of our partners and all that. And, we're getting direction, and the camera's in there, and they're like, yeah, make sure when he says this, you guys are like, yeah, great. Oh, it sounds great. Everything like that. Then there's another scene where I literally am with him, me and him having dialogue, walking down through this office. And Mike, you'll certainly appreciate this, I know. It literally says in the script, you guys are walking in a West Wing style walk.
Walk and talk.
It's
a walk and talk.
Walk. I love
it. It is. And that meant because people were coming up to him to talk to him as we're walking. So I got to I stop and I wait. And then I stop and interrupt and wait again, and we get interrupted. And then I have 2 speaking lines with him, basically. And I tell him how, the feedback's been great. And then we start walking. And then a woman comes in and she says, hey, Gabe, I'm going to need this. And I look at him and say, no, I'll write that up for you. He's like, no, you go home. Your daughter has a Christmas pageant. That's what happens. I just gave away my scene. And then we walk off, and those were my 2 scenes. I had to go. They had a trailer, and it had my character's name is Mike, and they literally had a door with the name Mike on it. And I went in. This was my little dressing room, and then they brought me over to makeup. I got my makeup done. There's a hair person. We did a lot of hair jokes because and then they put us in a van, and we went into where we go to film.
Well, I appreciate knowing what you've told us about the script. I'm pretty sure as long as you don't tell us who commits the murder, you're fine.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. That's right.
I think you're fine as long as you don't say who's guilty of the murder in this movie.
Yeah.
That has to remain.
Oh man, I'm surprised. I wish they would have gave you that announcer role. I'm totally fine with the one they gave me. You know what I mean?
I thought I didn't know what I was really applying for. When I got the script, I thought, this is the public address announcer. That's not a job that I do. That would be weird for me to be the person doing that, I thought. So you know what I did? I've never done anything like this before. And frankly, Sal, between all of us here, I was with friends out at the Sportsman's Tavern on a Sunday afternoon when I got the email or a text from Brayton Wilson saying this guy wants you to apply. And my friends all said, you got to do it. And I was like, okay, that's it. I'm doing it. And I responded right there and then, yeah, sure, I'm interested. Send me whatever you need. I ad-libbed a talk show bit, just thinking I have no idea how far down the road of written all this is, but if you need a character to turn a car on and have some idiot on the radio talking about the Bills, here you go. I just volunteered it, and I didn't get the part. I didn't really expect to, so I'm glad that you are in it, and even in a bigger role than just saying first down at the 34-yard line or whatever the thing was.
Yeah, the PA announcer's role is basically to welcome people on the field during a halftime song.
Oh, that's right.
That would have been the PA announcer's
that's
role,
what
right?
I read. Yeah.
But you're right. But those roles that you were talking about, there's plenty of those that exist, I think, and they could have given to you or anybody else, and that would have been really cool, and they should have definitely thought about that. The day I was there, I know Deion Dawkins was supposed to film a scene, and that was the day they announced the award, so Deion couldn't be there at the time. But I know he had been there the day before to film, along with Dwayne Carter and DeMar Hamlin, and when I left later that day, Sean McDermott filmed a scene, and apparently, he was all about it and really got into it and loved it.
Good. Once I thought about the PA thing, of the prospect of having to scream third down, I just decided it wasn't for me. I just couldn't. If I'm going to get it and they're going to make me scream third down, I'm going to walk off. So
I quit.
I can't do it. I'm sorry. I'm just not here for that.
Yeah. Well, good for you, Sal.
Sal, good luck with the baseball tomorrow. Thanks for your time.
You got it, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right, it's our Sal Capaccio on the West Her Hotline. His appearances are always brought to you by New York's only outlet liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet?
What are we talking about the most over the next few months here with the Bills. It won't. It's not going to be as active as it's been here for free agency to the draft to the schedule. Now it's kind of like a turning point. 803-0550 for your calls. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
We know you
In both the NHL and NBA tonight, Stars host the Oilers. They're looking to take a 2-0 series lead. That game will begin at 8 and will be over on ESPN. In basketball, the Knicks, they host Indiana as the Knicks attempt to rebound from Wednesday night's overtime loss. That's going to be a TNT Max game for them. Then the Bisons, they are also in action tonight on the road versus the Iron Pigs. First pitch at 7. That can be heard on our sister station, The Bet 1520. Over the weekend, a very busy sports weekend. It will start early tomorrow. Bandits looking for their third straight NLL title. 4:30 game start, and it'll be a pregame at 4 right here on WGR as they take on the Rush. Bandits sideline reporter Dave Buchanan will have more on this pivotal Game 3 when he joins the show in just about an hour at 5:30. Then on Sunday, it is race day, 9 a.m. Monaco Grand Prix in Formula 1, 12:45 the Indianapolis 500, and then the night will round out at 6, the Coca-Cola 600 in NASCAR. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. You know, you guys all know how I feel about Trey. He's a great player. I love Trey as a guy. He goes out and plays well every single Sunday. He's very productive. He's a guy that deserves to get paid and get paid what he wants and what the market is. So, you know, like I said, we'll see what happens with that. You know, I love Trey and hope he's with us.
Joe Burrow on Trey Hendrickson.
What does he care? He got all his receivers.
Surprising, really, to hear Burrow say nice things about a teammate in an interview. You wouldn't expect a player to do that normally. I had a funny kind of thought. I wanted to put it to you just to see of what level of rage you might reach if you actually had to do this. You know, I'm just sort of, sometimes when I'm on my computer, I have this, pad. I don't have a separate mouse or anything like that. And I lose the arrow. Mm-hmm. I lose the guy here, right?
That happens to me. I've got 2 monitors here in the studio that I work off of, 2 desktops. And sometimes I'm moving the mouse around for a while trying to find out where is it? Where I'm moving it too fast and I'm alternating it between the screens. And it's just not optimal.
So I'm, light mode, and I'm just sort of I'm moving my finger all over the thing, just sort of aimlessly trying to get to a place where the arrow runs over something where I can see it moving,
right,
as opposed to just mostly the white Microsoft Word document.
Yep.
And so on my browser, I'm doing this earlier today, and maybe I just sort of clicked because I wasn't being successful, or just by accident, and I clicked over a little box, the top left of the screen, called apparently the Tab Actions menu. Did you know you had a Tab Actions menu?
I'm not familiar with the Tab Actions menu. No,
yeah, I wasn't either, but. Here I click on the Tab Actions menu, and the first thing you can do on this menu is turn on vertical tabs. And I thought of you immediately. I thought of this as maybe the kind of thing, if we did the picks bet and I won, you would have to go with vertical tabs for a week. And all your tabs are on the left column instead of across the top.
Oh.
And that would completely blow your mind, right?
That would ruin my life.
Ruin your life.
Yeah.
Vertical. You've got people that work here. They like the call screen program expanded to fit the whole screen. To me, that's a heinous act.
Right.
That is a monstrous act. People have their. But does anybody light mode, dark mode? Does anybody use vertical tabs? Anybody?
I'll bet some whack job out there prefers it for some reason. I don't know. The monitor is wider than it is tall. And so right away, I can never have, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 open on this screen.
6.
4 open on the other. And, I can see them all. But if you get, maybe there's room for a 7th, I think, on my one screen. But I get to 8, it starts contracting them to the extent that you can't really see what's all there. And that would, so if it were on the left, in a column on the left side of the screen, there's less room for that, and I would have a harder time even knowing which ones were which. Mm-hmm. That would make me nuts. And
a lot of things would.
Yeah, many things do make me nuts. I'm, neurotic isn't too strong about things like this for me. In fact, as the show goes along every day, like these 6 tabs that I have open for now are going to be here right into the football season. Well, I shouldn't say that. 4 of them will, because it's Bill's schedule, last year's standings, last year's stats. That's it for football right now. There's no need to have a full league schedule.
This is good. We're hearing now, and I'm happy to also volunteer mine. We're hearing now what your tabs are that are open.
Right. I still have, from when hockey ended, the Sabres season stats. I've got the Stanley Cup playoff bracket open, so I can hopefully quickly reference who played whom, what round, whatever, and then the NHL schedule for, day over day open on this screen. That, until the playoffs are over, most of that will stay the same. And when the playoffs end, the Sabres stats will be pertinent because we'll be talking about the Sabres in the offseason and the draft and free agency and whatever. But when as the show's going on, occasionally I got to Google this or something, and I might want to leave something open. If I get to an 8th tab, I got to close it right away. I got to use it and then get rid of it because everything's
truncated.
Everything's too crushed together, and I don't like it.
All right, I just counted. I have 20. Wow. 20 open. You wouldn't like that.
No, that would be a problem for me.
Twitter, email, fantasy, NFL schedule, fantasy, my son's high school, fantasy. How about me making time
for your son's high school? For my son. Yeah. When you've only got the one screen, too. So,
I'm only half done.
Right.
First 10, not promising. Not proud. Then, though, I've got a page for something pertaining to my son's school. Then fantasy baseball, fantasy recipe, Pro Football Reference, recipe, daily walk-off. I've been doing daily walk-off lately. Baseball trivia, like Immaculate Grid. Mm-hmm. If you like baseball, daily walk-off's kind of fun. And then fantasy.
There's a lot of repetition there.
Well, no 2 are the same.
But you're using them all, and that's
no 2 are the same.
That's what matters.
That's repetition.
Yeah.
If I had 2 underdog sites open and 2, no, you don't have that here. They're all different.
Yeah. Not
Not even leagues. They're all different sites. Have you been looking at the Boston-Baltimore game at all?
I just saw a second Devers home run in this inning. There was one while we were talking to Sam, I think, back in the 3:30 to 4 o'clock segment.
So it's 19-3 in the 8th inning. I think the Orioles were using a position player because he was throwing 57. And if that's a pitcher,
that's a good indicator
you're
that
fired.
It's not a regular pitcher.
Yeah, I don't know who the guy is, but 57. Well. So they got off on him a little bit.
Well, you've only got the one, so that's 20 on one screen. I've got 10 between the two because the other screen is Twitter. I've got the Bills depth chart, and I like having that open.
I like the depth chart.
Not just for the Bills, but when we talk to our Atlanta guy, it's the Our Lads depth chart portal, so I can just go to Atlanta, whoever we're talking to, I quickly can get their depth chart out, and I like that. I still have a page with just a graphic with all the Bills draft picks on it. Just because, I don't know, it's a month ago already, but still, you never know. I like to have that. And then I
couldn't name them all.
And then I've got our YouTube stream.
All right.
Which I haven't looked at once today or yesterday, but it's there.
It's there.
So if we need anything from that.
Wait, I should do that because then it counts.
Yeah, right. And it's,
I had never thought of that.
That's directly show related, too.
Do we need one more? I don't know, but
right.
It would count.
Yeah.
I don't have to be actually watching it.
No, because it does.
It just has to be on.
Right. It does say how many people are watching there.
Yeah. This I know from my ADP chasing experience and the deep end where you look and you're like, okay, we got about 1,000 views, 2,000 people watching. That's pretty good. And then you'll have 8 people will like the video. 1,000 people are watching it at one time. 8 people have clicked the like button. And that's offensive. In that community, no. Just please go out of your way, if you must, and just click on the thumbs up. Do we have the thumbs up? We do. Yeah, all right. Please click the like button.
Yeah.
It helps to grow. I believe it helps to grow the program.
Does it tell
the algorithms like it when you get more likes?
Does it reveal the identity of the person clicking the like?
Not on YouTube.
Okay, I'm going to click it then. There. Oh, it wants me to sign in. Shut up.
You're not going to sign in.
Signing in. God. Why is everything going to be so hard?
I know it is. It is like that.
It
is so hard.
Yeah, I can't even sign in. I got a new phone and like all the work stuff that I need to sign into. Luckily, I still get my email on my iPad. The work email is live there. I can't sign into anything because the hoops that I need to jump through, I can't. I don't know. My phone forgot who I am, or like the security stuff through work. Through my phone. My new phone has thrown it all off, so I need to get that addressed.
This show must be sounding increasingly manic when it comes to technology. Maybe we're venturing too far in that direction. I bought the riding mower a month ago or whenever, not that long ago. And I remember I was talking about the video I was using to put it together, and then that disappeared. So at one point, I went to the live help.
Uh-huh. How'd that go?
And they wanted $10 that they would refund me once I completed. So the first before I got an answer to any question, I needed my credit card, and I'm out.
Yeah, right.
I'm just not. No, I've already bought this from you.
Right.
I'm not giving you $10 just for the help function.
This is like
even if I do get it back.
I gotta give you the credit card when I check into the hotel in case I go bananas on the minibar.
That I understand.
Yeah, I know. That's
do.
what this sounds like. And like, what? Why? I just need.
I just want you to tell me where the Fetzer valve is.
Right.
That's it. Can somebody just do that? No, they need money first. They need a deposit. They need a refundable deposit to answer a question about the Fetzer valve. That seems a little much.
Well, I did take a moment. This is going to be a tease. Old school, pen and paper. I went through and looked up the Bills' record from December 1 on.
Okay.
And we'll have that for you when we continue.
Oh, how many years?
Since 20. Since
5 seasons.
Since they reached contender status.
5 seasons.
Yeah.
Now we got a guy in this game throwing moonballs. For Boston.
Is this a Red Sox position player now that's in pitching?
Who's Toro?
I don't know.
He's throwing moonballs with the 19-4 score. He'd better not be a pitcher.
I'm going to.
What are we doing here in this game in Boston?
Yeah.
What happened to this game? This is a first game of a doubleheader.
Right.
There's another moonball. They're saving their relievers. Let's see a comeback. You just going to throw moonballs up there? Sorry for your tease.
There's no outs, bases loaded.
Let's see a comeback. Let's see them have to pay for this. We've got a 16-run lead. I'm putting my shortstop in to pitch.
It's 15 now.
Let's see them have to pay for it. I'm going to be watching this during the break. Bulldogs, Bills record since December 1st, last 5 years. Maybe some power rankings. Dave Buchanan on the Bandits still to come. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. beat the Orioles 19-5, first game of a doubleheader. The Orioles could not do well enough hitting the moonballs and ended up just scoring 2 runs in the ninth and losing 19-5. Boston scored 13 runs in the eighth, also against a position player.
13 runs in the eighth, wow.
Lucy Bird says highest scoring inning of the season in the majors. 13. Sounds right.
You should have saved some for later.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, let's now go to you with the Bill stats.
23-4 the last 5 seasons. From December 1st on. It's not just December because, there's a game or sometimes even 2 in January. Regular season games. 5-0 in 20. 4-2 in 21. The losses are the win game against New England and that overtime game in Tampa the following week. So They lost their first 2 games in December that year and then went 4-0 down the stretch.
That's another one where after a back-to-back losing streak, they went perfect.
5-0 in 22. There's an asterisk there because there's no Bengal game there. That was the year they lost the Bengal game with the DeMar Hamlin situation. So, but still 5-0 in 22. 23 also 5-0. Last year they were 4-2. You've got a finale that you didn't need that contributes to that against New England. So that's an asterisk. And then you've got that crazy Ram game that was just so explosive and close, but nonetheless, 23-4 from December on the last 5 years.
I bet even 19.
Yeah, let me look. I did not include it. I don't really know why.
19
I didn't have to exclude it. I mean, they were a playoff team.
Thanksgiving in Dallas is usually in November, but Sunday night in Pittsburgh they won in 19.
Yeah.
Did they close pretty strong? Is that the year they beat Miami by 1 million?
No, I'm glad I left it out.
Baltimore.
They are 1-3.
Baltimore.
Down the stretch that season. They won that Dallas game, lost to Baltimore, right? 24-17. Won in Pittsburgh, like you said, and then lost to New England and lost to the Jets.
Lost to New England on the Saturday.
Right.
Lost to the Jets in a meaningless game.
Yeah, a game they didn't really need. So, but still.
I bet them to win anyway. That felt good.
Oh, I'll bet. Yeah.
Can't they just win anyway? No. The answer was no. Who would have been the quarterback that day?
For the Bills?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I have it right on my screen.
So I don't think Trubisky's not here yet.
I don't feel like I can play the game.
Trubisky's not here yet. I don't know the answer. Trubisky's not here yet. This is easy, right? Is it Barkley?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Matt Barkley.
He was the primary backup?
I guess.
In 19?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, 232. I don't have the whole box open here, but 232 yards. I can get the whole box, actually, if I click.
Is that the year where they win at the Jets big with him?
No.
Or is that the year Allen's hurt? Allen doesn't miss a game since then.
The first Jet game, where is the first Jet game? Why don't I see it on my screen here?
2019?
Yeah. Oh, it's the opener.
The opener at the Jets.
17-16.
Mosley.
Right. I don't know if this is backed up by this, but it's a game where they moved the ball a lot and settled for field goals. They couldn't get in the end zone, is what I remember.
Yeah, they were down maybe 16-0.
That is right. Yeah. Yes.
That was kind of a cool win.
Yeah, they were down 16-3 going into the fourth quarter.
That was a cool win.
Allen, touchdown run, John Brown, 38-yard pass from Allen to give them the lead.
Left sideline. Yeah. All right. Memory lane.
A little reminiscing for you there.
How about some reverse AFC power rankings? I think it was Friday last week when we did them, maybe 5 o'clock also. It's been that long at least. We'll have that for you after the break. Dave Buchanan next hour as well. The Bandits in the final game tomorrow afternoon. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Call
In both the NHL and NBA tonight, starting in the NHL, the Stars host the Oilers as Dallas looks to take a 2-0 series lead. Game time at 8 over on ESPN. While in basketball, the Knicks host Indiana. New York attempting to rebound from Wednesday night's overtime loss. Game time also at 8. They'll be over on TNT and Max. The Bisons, they are also in action tonight on the road versus the Iron Pigs. First pitch at 7, and that game can be heard on our sister station, The Bet 1520. We do have a busy sports weekend starting tomorrow. The Bandits looking to win their third straight NLL title at 4:30. They host the Rush. Pregame is at 4 right here on WGR. We'll have Bandits sideline reporter Dave Buchanan joining the show in just about a half hour at 5:30. And then on Sunday, it is race day. 9 a.m., the Monaco Grand Prix in Formula One. 12:45, the Indianapolis 500. Then at 6, the Coca-Cola 600 in NASCAR. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Everything was neat. All the chairs were tucked in. It was fine. I didn't have to move anything, and I just walked through and came back. And then just now, I got up and walked around, did the same loop, and there were like 10 chairs as askew in there as I've ever seen. I don't understand. Like, what happened to those chairs?
It's Mike Schopp
I don't know. What would make the most sense?
and the Bulldog.
I am shook by this. Honest to God, I do not understand what just happened.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Did you go down there during a break and move the chairs?
I've been doing it every day.
It was me all along. On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Update. I've given up arranging the chairs. I've stopped. Someone who's in there for meetings on a regular basis likes to have one of the chairs that doesn't match on because there's two different style chairs in there, and this began with me initially just putting them neatly under the table or at the table, so that it will look nice when everybody walks in there again. And that pleases me when I walk in there later after I've done it. It's like the room looks nice. But there were two different kinds of chairs, so I had segregated them to opposite sides of the room. So like one side's got all the one kind of chair, the other. Somebody who sits on the one side of the table, I'm assuming at meetings, likes the one kind of chair
They move it around.
that doesn't match. So they keep, and we were having a silent battle for a few weeks, and I finally just said, you know what, I don't sit here. It's not for me to keep moving this chair on this person. Let them have their chair. And with that comes anything goes now. As long as I can walk through there, I don't care. So I'm done fixing the room.
And I'm done messing it up.
Right. There. Reached a natural conclusion.
I'm done messing with the room.
I guess.
I mean, vertical tabs, incongruous chair arrangements. Man, somebody's going to reach out to you, I think, at some point here pretty soon.
Oh.
This man.
They don't know.
This man is in need of some assistance.
They don't.
The chairs now, the tabs now, the chairs.
Well, no. Listen, I'm bragging. This is a sign of progress.
Okay, you're not going to worry about it.
I'm leaving it alone.
Okay, maybe I'm not done messing with it.
Oh, yeah, right. You're right. You're gonna push it to see how far I'll go, leaving it alone.
Yeah.
But I'm leaving it alone. As long as I can walk through there, and it gets dark out at 5 o'clock, when we get to the winter, again.
Long ways off.
Yeah. And so, but I feel like I've made a positive step toward managing my neurosis.
Good. Yeah. Well, get out the tab that has all the teams there, the standings, some call it.
I've got it open.
It's time now for Reverse AFC Power Rankings, powered by Empire Electric, your residential neighborhood electrician. Visit empireelectricians.com. On the official sheet, I have us having not done this since 2 weeks ago today. Did we not do this last week?
I don't.
May 9th is the last recorded edition.
That's the official record, then that's when we did it.
There's no way we would have done this without
absolutely not
writing the names on this sheet.
There's not, and it's a sheet of paper with only like two versions of this on it, if I see correctly, right? Like you've had
This one, yeah.
2 weeks. Yeah. So we would not have started a new sheet. You would not have started a new sheet. That one. So, yeah, we definitely didn't do it last week.
From the vertical tabs to the incongruous chair arrangements to the slightly off-center listing of the power rankings.
I don't need to
I
see,
need help.
I don't need to see the sheet.
I need help. Reverse AFC power rankings. I thought we did one post-schedule, but I guess not. Well, this is post-schedule. 16.
I still want to punish Pittsburgh for just having their thumb sticking out on the side of the road, hoping Aaron Rodgers drives by.
I enjoyed our conversation with Andrew Filipponi yesterday, as I always do, on the Steelers. And it comes down to motives, like it often does in sports. It comes down to motives. They want to hang around. And that's what the Aaron Rodgers thing is. And they'll probably be able to do that with him. Is it worth anything to their fans? Most of their fans, anyway? Probably not. But as they would see it, it's probably better than being terrible. So, I mean, not that this needs to be explained. It's obvious what their motive would be. And I still think, no matter what you think of him or that kind of motivation, they're still not the Browns. So I'll go Cleveland.
I'll go Cleveland as well.
Fair.
I think it's fair.
I admittedly, I'm punishing a team that I have usually defended continuing, because you've been more like I am right now with them in other years even. I want plural there, and I'm always sticking up my hand going, they're going to go 9-8 at worst. Like, why? They can't be this low.
It's close.
Or high, excuse me.
It's close.
But anyway.
I might still rather be the Browns. But, I feel like that's strained, a little bit strained. I mean, to say you'd rather be the Browns over anybody is, all right.
Right.
Why?
On top of everything else they've had going on, now it looks like maybe they're spoiling for a fight about a stadium with the mayor or something. Like,
good timing.
Like, what in the world are you doing? Like, no one... You have really taken your fans. You put your fans through the ringer here. Anyway, all right. Yeah. So Browns 15.
15.
By law, I guess I have to say with the Steelers. So you guys can.
I'll agree.
Agree. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's not great. Maybe the bottom drops out.
Yeah. Maybe. I think I can legitimately say, I don't know that I would rather be the Jets. No, I would. They're clear of Aaron Rodgers.
What is the worst Steelers team of the last 50 years? What was the worst Steelers team's record of the last 50 years? Were they maybe 5-11 once?
I don't know. What were they when they picked? They were picking 11th, I think, when they picked Ben in 2004. I have no idea if that was their own pick or if they traded up.
2003, they were 6-10.
Okay,
6-10 in '99, 5-11 in '88, like the end of Chuck Noll, pretty much. Yeah, that's it. 5-11 is the answer. The last 50 years. Pre-merger, they were always terrible, and then
Chuck
that
Noll
draft, Chuck Noll.
Right.
Wow, pretty good streak.
Yeah.
Or half century. 14. Pretty good half century.
I guess I'll get to the Jets here. I just think it's going to be a while. I don't have... it's fine to be bullish on Aaron Glenn and starting over and, culture. I mean, we went through that here with McDermott, and maybe the Jets have their McDermott and Aaron Glenn. I'm open-minded to that. But Justin Fields, no.
They'll only know if they have their McDermott if they get their Allen.
Right. And they definitely do not have their Allen.
He's not going to be there 9 years.
Right. They have their Justin Fields right now, which
I am eager to see it. Fields, it's the fantasy player in me, but Fields can really go. Like if he's able to process, somehow he gets a different voice in his head and it clicks for him and he's able to fit in his running with like some just more efficient passing, then I think it could get interesting. But that's a big if.
That is a huge if. That is the hardest thing I think to get. Is that I think Lossman might have been this. Like a lot of talent, big arm, could move. Yeah. Decent athletically, even maybe better than decent, above average certainly athletically. but I just don't think he could see it. And I think we've seen enough of Fields at this point. It would really surprise me, even shock me, if he suddenly figured out how to read it. So I think without that piece, he's always going to be capable of making incredible plays. Because when he does see it, or when it just falls into place, when it's just easy, he can make the big throw, and he certainly can move. But I just don't think he's going to see it enough. So
just to quickly add, I think the most interesting scenario there would be the Jets having the Giants season when Daboll showed up and they made the playoffs, and then like, okay, well, are they actually good? No, but they paid Jones off of that, and they would come to regret it, and most people said it was a bad idea, but they had the pressure of the timing. They made the playoffs and they won in Minnesota with Jones and got blown out, I think, in Philadelphia. And they're like, all right, well, I guess this is a Fitzpatrick kind of situation. I guess this is our quarterback. And I think if the Jets have enough talent where they could have like a 10-7 if he's just not the worst, and then what? I think it's a 2-year deal, but maybe he ends up getting a long-term thing and sort of having a career that way. Big if, again. 13. Titans.
Sure.
What have they done?
I'm fine there. The number 1 overall pick, that can be a big swing. But even if it feels to me like that's – I don't think this guy's tracking Cam Ward like, say, Jaden Daniels last year. Like, he shows up and just, like, transforms the organization. Maybe. But
maybe.
I don't think he's quite that – he's not that athlete. You can be optimistic about him, but expect, the rookie curve a little bit more than you had with a guy like Daniels last year. So
you think the thing though is like Daniels, man, I guess I'm not quite as keen on like how they did it, how he did it, but it wasn't like you looked at Washington and saw great surrounding talent. It wasn't the Bears, like it wasn't. Mm-hmm. It was Terry McLaurin, Brian Robinson, Eckler, Zach Ertz, like really. Just mid when it came to weapons, and they were like 5th in the league in points, more than the Eagles last year. I mean, he must have been really good. I only saw him a few times. He just must have been really good, Daniels. Who scored more? Detroit, Tampa, Buffalo, Baltimore. 5th in the league in points, Washington. 12.
Colts for me.
I'll also go Colts.
Fine. So far, this list is identical to 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah?
11.
Bills.
You wanted,
sorry.
We got to have it come out a little bit different.
I'm just after the
Chargers.
clicks. I'm just after the clicks, people. Chiefs. Just trying
Radio show in Buffalo.
I know, says
Kansas City's the AFC's 11th best team. That would be great.
Yeah, they got picked up by like what? I don't even know. Awful announcing or something. That would be.
All we need is Brandon Bean to call in.
Right.
Then everybody would know. 11. New England? No. Miami.
Yeah. That's fine.
That's also the same. 10.
Wow.
New England, Vegas.
Sure.
Jacksonville.
I'll say Vegas.
Me too.
Bad news on Wilkins today, I saw. He's having trouble coming back from a foot injury, I think it was. I mean, that's man. When he was right in Miami, he was right up there with.
He was a problem.
Yeah, he was a real problem. He was like Quinnen Williams in New York. Like that's just same draft. Is that Oliver and Quinnen Williams? Like the AFC East got these tackles that same year. Was Barmore in New England that same year too? I can't remember. Anyway, he's had blood clot issues too, Barmore. But I think that's tracking positively. This thing with Wilkins doesn't sound good. Anyway, fine. Raiders.
9.
Houston.
Ooh. Jacksonville better than Houston? No, not for me. New England for me.
Yeah, I think I'll go New England too. Yeah.
I mean, let's see first, maybe. Let's just see.
Yeah.
How do they start? I've got it. Home to the Raiders, at the Dolphins, home to the Steelers, home to Carolina, then here, then at New Orleans, then at Tennessee, then home to Cleveland. What the heck? Listen to that. That's the Patriots' first 8 games.
That sounds like 6-2.
Raiders, Dolphins, Steelers, Panthers, Bills, Saints, Titans, Browns.
Are there any UFL teams on their schedule?
Atlanta, Tampa, Jets.
Yes.
They haven't even played the Jets yet. Cincinnati, Giants, Bills, Baltimore, Jets, Dolphins. Yeah, that could be 10 wins. All right. 8.
I will go Houston here. I think I'm going to stick with I like Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr., 2 receivers and a quarterback who hasn't really broken through all the way yet, do not necessarily make for a great team, and they don't have to be great. They're just I like them a little better than Houston right now.
I got to say, I guess Houston's the vote, but Jacksonville, 6 games worse.
Today that you like them more than the Chargers?
I do.
You were talking to Sam, I think you brought that up.
I do. I'm not sure I'm right. It might come from fantasy, and Sam made the right point to me, which was like it's very different, and I know it is, but talking about them on the FFPC podcast, like I'm just out on all the Chargers. I'm out on Omarion Hampton as like a 5th-round pick in fantasy. I'm out on even McConkey seems rich in the 2nd round. They said to me, like, consider Rashee Rice, who goes like late 3rd, over like even like a guy like McConkey, and I think that's the right point. Rice is cheap right now. He's going to go up. 3. Chiefs.
Kansas City.
2.
You guys beat me to it. I thought I was going to be cheeky saying Chiefs. I wasn't sure what the pecking order has been recently.
I think we got a break here, but I think the talking about the echo chamber and how a lot of guys sound the same, sort of the group think New England good, Miami bad. I feel like the Chiefs, there's sort of a down, it's a down moment. Like off-season moves don't like them. The Super Bowl was ugly. We had suspension and injury stuff with Rice and Worthy, different ways, different guys for a minute. That's kind of all gone away, maybe. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It sounds sort of like maybe we're bored. I think the Chiefs thing seems like it's in a lull right now.
When did we talk to Alex Gold? Was that earlier this week? Or was that last week?
Week on the schedule?
Like left tackle is still a question.
He said 5 different left tackles in the 5 Super Bowls.
Right.
That's interesting. Also, it's 5 Super Bowls.
Right.
2.
With 5 different left tackles, so like, who cares? Maybe, like, how concerned should you be? They find a way.
Apparently now there's proof that isn't an important position.
Right.
2. Who wants to say it?
Buffalo.
Yeah, me too. I gotta agree. Baltimore won. Baltimore continuing to win the spreadsheets and win the offseason and win the regular season. Congrats to them. Congrats. That's more of a congrats than a congrats. After the update, Dave Buchanan to preview tomorrow's NLL final. Bandits and Saskatchewan. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Tomorrow at 4:30, the Buffalo Bandits will be looking to take home their third straight NLL title. Pre-game at 4 as they take on the Saskatchewan Rush here in Buffalo. The game and pre-game will be right here on WGR, and we'll get more on this pivotal Game 3 as Bandit sideline reporter Dave Buchanan joins the show next. Tonight in the playoffs, it's the NHL and the NBA. In hockey, the Stars host the Oilers. Dallas looking to take a 2-0 series lead. Game time is at 8 over on ESPN. While in basketball, the Knicks host Indiana. New York attempting to rebound from Wednesday's overtime loss. That game also at 8 will be over on TNT and Max. And then on Sunday, it is race day, 9 a.m., the Monaco Grand Prix in Formula One, 12:45, the Indianapolis 500, then at 6, the Coca-Cola 600 in NASCAR. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Forechecking by Buchanan, winning the ball back. Here's Fraser taking the shot. He scores! Fake left, fake right. Short side, far side. Goal, Buffalo.
One more game for the Bandits tomorrow afternoon downtown against Saskatchewan. Dave Buchanan, as always, will be there for it. Floor reporter for the Bandits. He joins us now on the West Her hotline. First question for me, a sincere one. What is Saskatoon like, Dave?
Mike BD, happy Friday. Saskatoon is very flat. I don't know. It was fine.
Flat and fine.
Didn't get to see much, but the Saskatchewan River is very nice. And I believe Joni Mitchell wrote a song about it, so it was cool to be there. I don't get to go on many road trips as John Gertler does, so it's always fun just to get the experience.
How close did it feel? It was a close game. How close were you to thinking that they could taste the win? I mean, as close as it was, the first game was close too. Did it ever get to a point where you felt like they were going to get it or that they would get it?
I thought when they scored the first goal of the second half, that was the first half in the series where they scored first. So I thought when they did that, I thought maybe they'd get up early in the second half and then kind of go into lockdown mode, which is kind of what they did for most of the third quarter. But then it slipped away from them in the fourth, and Saskatchewan had their comeback. So not that I was, thinking, oh, they got this wrapped up, but I was feeling pretty good in the third quarter.
Okay. How it's been tight, obviously, right? 12-10 and 11-10, if I got the scores right, of the two games. Like, how you expect coin flip city tomorrow, or is this where like the home crowd and that atmosphere maybe really comes into play?
I keep calling back to the 2023 finals against Colorado. They won game one in a close one. They went to Denver for game two and got beat, but then they came home and just put a whooping on Colorado and won 13-4. That's my, I guess, perfect scenario for tomorrow is that they accomplished that, and I think it could go that way. But this Saskatchewan team, they got a lot of momentum. They won their Halifax series in such exciting fashion. They hung in for most of game one and obviously ultimately the better team in game two. And they've said a lot of interesting things this week leading up to this game. So I think it really is coin flip city tomorrow, as much as the Bandits might not want to play not that they don't want to play a close game. They'd rather win going away, but I think it will be a close one.
How prepared to give us and our audience an example of some of the interesting things, as you put it, that Saskatchewan has had to say this week, are you?
I was like Austin Shanks after the game, saying that they were going to get the championship next weekend. And then Justin Boudreau had a comment. He was asked about Bandit Land, and his response was I'm paraphrasing, was like, well, they're not going to come over the glass and try and set a pick on me, so I'm not worried about it,
Okay, yeah.
So.
And you told us last week, there's a player on that team from here.
Yeah, well, he's Matt Hossack. He's from Ontario originally, but now he lives
here
I believe in Lancaster, somewhere in Western New York. He works locally. I believe his without knowing the whole story, but I believe he met his wife at RIT where they went to college, and then they relocated here. So yeah, Matt, this is like a home game for him, kind of.
I guess it didn't happen for Colorado 2 years ago, but I would think psychologically a road team in that environment just a week ago would help them. You know, you're a little bit used to it. You know what the environment is just from very recent experience.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that they kind of got going for them is that they just played it in the environment that is Bandit Land. So yeah, they definitely have that going for them. I think at times that the effect it has on opposing teams might be a little overstated. I do think, however, that home crowd really, the Bandits really feed off of that, and that helps their swagger, I think, especially when they're on a roll.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it affects opposing teams as much as some people might think.
Right.
Either way, it's going to be a phenomenal experience tomorrow with a full house.
Either and an interesting start time, right? 4:30. I don't feel like I can't recall. You could tell us way better than my recall would be, but I don't feel like there's a lot of afternoon games. So that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, the joys of national television. You know, ESPN2 wanted to fit it in after the college lacrosse semifinals tomorrow. I think we did that in Denver for one of the games, either 22 or 23. It was like Memorial Day Monday afternoon or something, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So trying to make a day of lacrosse out of it on ESPN2.
Yeah. How is there any injury concerns on either side that could be a factor in this game tomorrow?
I mean, we'll see if Chris Cloutier can come back. The official injury report came out earlier today. He was listed as questionable. Chris got a lower body injury. I have no inkling either way if he'll go or not play tomorrow. You know, I thought Clay Scanlon came in, scored 2 goals. He's a great spark plug for that offense, and he filled in quite nicely for Chris. He maybe lacks a little bit of Chris's size, but he's kind of like a Kyle Buchanan, where he gets in all the dirty areas, scoops up the loose balls, and can bury them from within close range. So other than that, you know, we'll see if they go with the same lineup. You know, if Ron John can get back in the lineup, I just don't know who would come out if that happens. So on the other side, I don't think Saskatchewan really they had nobody new on their injury report that hasn't already been on there for the last few weeks.
Dave, the scores were very much alike. Were the games alike? Were there different, I don't know, strategies, or just sort of were there noticeable differences meaningfully in the two games?
No, I thought they were quite similar. I think the team that made the fewest amount of mistakes won each game. You know, game one, I thought Saskatchewan, I likened it to a boxing match. You know, they came out throwing punches and landing a few good ones, but I think they got tired out by about round 8 or 9. And, you know, they were the better half, or they were the better team for the first 2.5 quarters, and then Buffalo closed them out in the final quarter and a half. And then I think in game two, I think Buffalo beat themselves with some penalties, missed passes, drop passes, hit a few posts. You know, I think it'll be like tomorrow. Like Paul Dawson said it yesterday on Sabres Live with Duffer and Marty. You know, they got to play a complete 60 minutes, and I think that's what they need to do to win.
It was Chase Frazier who had the one hand behind the back goal in game two. How many of those have you seen?
From Chase, quite a few actually, especially in the playoffs. He had the insane one against Vancouver when he hit the double pipes and it went in. He's done that to Toronto more times than I remember. That's just Chase being Chase. I think he's so talented, and it's hard when you're playing with Dane and Josh. You might get buried a little bit in the limelight, but really, even coming out in the draft, everybody said he's a lot like Josh Byrne, just uses the other hand to shoot his stick. You know, he plays the opposite side of the floor. He's such a talented player, and you know, he just has a nose for shots like that.
Bulldog, how many chances would you need? With or without a goalie? Behind the back, bounce it in. One hand.
Infinity. I don't.
With the goalie there, yeah, I think it'd be infinity.
I have held the lacrosse stick. I don't think I've ever handled the ball in a lacrosse stick. Like I think my experience handling a lacrosse stick was maybe picking one out for my kids when they were 6.
Those plastic thingies.
Yeah, right. And like that's it. Like
You've never played catch?
No, I've never played catch. No, I have no experience. Well, Dave, we're pulling for the Bandits, for the players, the community, the fan base. For you, I hope you get like a good celebration Saturday night, and then saddle up for 20 hours of auto racing on Sunday. Right? It's a lot.
I know this is like a potential dream weekend for me, guys.
Right.
Yes, we got the Goon tomorrow, and then Sunday you got the greatest day in auto racing with the Monaco Grand Prix of Monaco, the Indianapolis 500, and the Coca-Cola 600. Yeah, I'm ready to nurse a championship hangover through 3 races on Sunday.
Right.
All right, Dave. Well, enjoy the broadcast tomorrow. Is pregame 3:30 or what?
4 o'clock pregame right here on
o'clock.
WGR with John Gertler, Steve Bernal, and myself. Georgia head coach Ed Como is going to join us during the pregame show, too.
And did you want to say, you heard Sal on with us mentioning the college semifinals tomorrow, and also mentioned how they'll be on ESPN or ESPN2 during the day tomorrow. What did you have on Syracuse?
Oh, they're loaded with names that Bandits fans are probably going to hear in the years to come. I just was looking at the roster. The next 3 drafts in the NLL have huge potential. Teams are salivating at first-round picks for the next 3 years. I mean, just on Syracuse alone, they've got 2 guys that are already drafted, Sam English and Michael Grace. English is playing for Toronto next year. Grace was drafted by Georgia. They were the number 2 and 3 overall picks. But then you got Finn Thompson, Trey Deer, Joey Spallina, Owen Hiltz are going to be top NLL draft picks. Brett Bucktooth Jr., his dad played for the Bandits. So, I mean, I don't watch the field game, but I just know those names already just from people raving about these next 2-3 upcoming draft classes, and they all happen to play for Syracuse.
All right, good stuff. Again, good luck to you and the Bandits tomorrow. We'll see what happens.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
All right, you too. Dave Buchanan, 4 o'clock pregame, 4:30 start for ESPN2. That's
out.
why.
Game
sold out. Yeah. Break here, and then we'll talk some more. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Got something to say? Say it anytime. Call, tweet, or text.
me out of drafting Jackson Hawes, so don't tell anybody Bulldog doesn't know his fantasy. Does the bet you have, we'll have our chat with Sam Panayovich coming up toward the end of the conversation. It's reference how you guys both have these futures tickets with across different sports needing, to correctly have predict the champions. Does Oklahoma City, does that bet get you to the TV to watch them?
Yeah, it did last night. The hockey game was so one-sided that I dipped into that. And like I mentioned with Sam here, I was, in the living room watching it, and it was in the third quarter, got to a 4-point game and a couple of threes. And it was ranging. And I turned it off down there, went to the bathroom, went upstairs, turned it down on my iPad, and it was like a 16-point game. It just exploded. So yes, they are, and I'm enjoying that a lot. I mean, they've got the MVP there, Canadian guy, SGA, and I'm interested. I'm invested, so I'm interested.
That's usually how that works.
Yeah.
We talked to Sam about the Bills at the front and what their betting markets say about them, or maybe saying about them. That's coming up. Happy Friday. Thanks for being with us today. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Call or text